Welcome everyone to Trend Micro Talks. I am your host, Erin Tomie, and today we're talking to Trend Micro's Chief Technology Strategy Officer, David Chow. David, how are you doing today?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
You are very welcome. I'm happy to have you. I would love to start with you sharing a bit about your role here at Trend Micro.
Sure. I started with Trend Micro back in January, and my role to me is really just to build relationship and also leverage my past experience to share with industry, share with our potential clients, as well as our current clients, just to talk about how my past experience can actually be leveraged and also helping them to enhance their overall IT posture, especially within the cybersecurity area.
So, David, before joining Trend Micro, you spent many years in IT security for the public sector, including a deputy director role at the White House and more recently as CIO of the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. Joining the team here, something I've heard you speak about before is the global presence of Trend Micro and how powerful that can be for our customers. Based on your past experiences in leadership roles on the user side, why do you think it's important for a vendor or any partner that an organization is working with to have that global presence?
So I'd like to give examples. So when I was working in government for 20 years, in government, we're very insulated. We're not focusing on the global viewpoint. At times that we do interface with people from outside of US, but most of the time it's very insulated within the US environment. So when I was working as the CIO at the Department of Housing and Urban Development, a couple situations. One was I started back in August of 2018, and soon after, our Ginnie Mae is actually an entity within HUD that sells mortgage-backed securities. So they were actually touring Asia as well as Middle East. I got a call in the middle of the night saying that the emails were bounced back. Emails coming into the HUD environment talking about potential investors buying the mortgage-backed security offered by Ginnie Mae. They were actually bounced back. Their people would not be able to receive any emails. So very quickly after that, went through analysis and realized that we were blocking all the traffic coming from overseas, right? So put a Tiger team together, solve that issues, and I think that was the first time that I really starting to see that not having the global perspective and just blindly blocking data traffic, it's actually hindering to the overall health of the environment, IT environment, as well as not really going through the necessary diligence to protect the necessary IT assets. So soon after that, we had this, and this is back in 2020, January 2020, there was another situation that happened. So Iran fired a missile into the Afghanistan. U.S. was actually it was actually a U.S. military base, and very quickly after that, we see an email spike. We see a data spike coming in as well as going out within the HUD environment. So we went through analysis. It took us about a week, and then we realized that there are some investigation that's needed. That we actually need to block the traffic. And then going through insider threat analysis to look at the three employees that were actually retrieving information as well as sending information out. We ultimately realized that it was actually just employees that were just curious. They were actually looking inside our information and also wanting to know a little more about what's happening out overseas. But then because of the prior engagement with Ginnie Mae, we opened up the traffic. And then it got to the point that we weren't really closing up the necessary traffic or having the necessary oversight. So for me, I attribute that to, again, the lack of global presence, lack of understanding of, the global perspective on IT as well as global perspective on cybersecurity. And at that time, we didn't really have the necessary time and effort to focus on implementing the necessary security solutions or identifying vendor like Trend Micro to be able to bring us the level of expertise that we can leverage to ensure that we understand globally that what are some of the threats out there from the global perspective, rather than being insulated, just focusing within the US.
I think those are two really great examples to show how even if an organization is isolated or siloed in the US, so they're based in the US, they're only working with US customers, why it can be so beneficial to look for partners, whether it be security or otherwise, that have that experience working with countries or organizations around the world. There are many things that happen and go on in the world outside of the US that may not be relevant today, but it could be something that happens in the future. And especially looking at your examples, that even though one day you think, oh, there's no reason for us to be having any communication with other countries coming into our environment, that can change within a day or even a few hours. So being prepared and having a partner that can help you work through those different scenarios can be really beneficial.
Yeah, Aaron, you're exactly right. But that's only the example within public sector. So in my experience working as a regulator within a number of industry, transportation, energy, as well as financial, I can attest to that. Many industries, they're very similar to the way that government has been operating, unless that they have a global view in terms of just having a conglomerate, or perhaps a global presence within different countries, operating within different countries. A lot of the organization within the US, they're solely focusing on protecting their assets, data assets within the US. And that, again, it goes back to the threat environment that we're talking about. You're seeing that a lot of the attacks are actually coming from overseas. Most of the attacks are coming from overseas. And that has become much more complex for us to be able to stay in front of it. But at the same time, that having global viewpoint would definitely understand the cultural aspect as well as the human aspect of the people actually putting the attacks together. So that's why I'm advocating that we need to have the necessary global presence, and that needs to be in the state of mind for public as well as private industry.
David, thank you so much for sharing those examples with us today, talking about the importance of global presence. I really appreciate your time here on Trend Micro Talks. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thanks for having me, Aaron.